Okay, well, hey, listen here. Welcome to the Thrive Collective. Entrepreneurs, business owners, leaders, and friends. This is your podcast, your show designed to help you make more money, avoid costly mistakes, and fully integrate your faith into what you do in your life and in your leadership. I am Rob Hughes, your host, and it's an honor to serve you through the use of this technology and tool and to create these experiences for you. Hey, I'll tell you what, I am just sick and tired of being sick and tired about this pandemic, but there's one thing that I feel it's not as unknown anymore. I mean, yes, it's scary and there's tragedy around us, but from a leadership perspective, it feels like at least we're more familiar with the current terms and circumstances. We're more familiar with it. And by that, what I mean is it was the first time many of us had to think about an online strategy, moving our businesses from brick to click. Now we're still in the midst of innovating. I'm sure everybody on the call and those of you listening are innovating and rethinking how do you want to do business in this online only society culture that we're in right now, the current circumstances. But at the end of the day, it's not an unfamiliar, we're seeing a lot of businesses do that. Restaurants are doing takeout only. My wife just did some grocery shopping. I just heard she called in at a local grocery store, not a national chain, a local grocery store. And she sent a physical email with her grocery list. Now picture that. This is a local grocer, not quite a mom and pop shop. They're pretty decent sized local grocer, but they are certainly not a Walmart or some of your other nationally recognized brands. She sent an email to the grocery store with her list, an actual email. A person on the other end, because they're not set up for e-commerce, I mean, they're a grocery store, but a person on the other end picked up the email, filled the order, phone called my wife, a human being on the other end of the phone called her to verify, and at the same time asked, hey, is there anything else that you're missing here? Anything else you'd like us to add while we're out there shopping for you? And my wife said, yeah, actually, as a matter of fact, son, we just ran out of almond milk. Do you guys stock almond milk at your small local grocery store? I said, absolutely, yes. I'll be happy to put that in your cart. And so lo and behold, she filled it up. And by an email and a phone call, this local grocery store who might have been assumed to have zero revenue in this time when you can't do physical in-person shopping or at least a big hit in revenue, was able to capture business and revenue, probably about a 10 to 12 mile drive for my wife to drive over to the local grocer, but it was absolutely worth it. They met her curbside, filled up the trunk, she paid over the phone with a credit card, clean. So what I'm saying is businesses are innovating. And when we come out of this kind of national health crisis, I do have a sense that there's going to be a renewed sense of vision, a renewed sense of vigor and innovation that comes out of this. Now catch this, that may not have been possible without the pressure of this pandemic. Now again, I pause to acknowledge that this is a global health crisis and that many families and communities are terribly devastated by this. And in the midst of the darkest of dark, there's still a light. A light is possible. Innovation is possible. But it takes us thinking differently. We cannot walk into the click and order world with exclusively a brick and mortar mentality. We must transition. We have to pivot. And for those of us who are walking in relationship with Jesus, I just want to speak to you a moment. This didn't catch God off guard. God is not quarantined. The same God who spoke the world into existence, the same God who sent his son to earth to walk as a man and to be crucified on the cross, the same God who then through that absorbed 100% of our sin, of our separation, of our false guilt, of our stress, of our anxiety, of our error. The same God who created the world sent his son into this world as an atoning sacrifice for every sleepless night you've ever had. Worry isn't the same as worship. Now, we can bring our worries to God. It's not like we should be shameful and hide them, but here's the deal. The grave that Jesus entered into on your behalf was not strong enough to hold him. Jesus rose 3 days later, glory hallelujah, shattering the power of sin, shattering the power in the stronghold of fear, shattering the stronghold of worry, of anxiety, of stress, of any matter at all that would bring us away from a heart of worship. He conquered the power of sin and death for you. For you. And that same God is not surprised by COVID-19. If what the scripture says is true, that God is not bound by time. In fact, I would not even say that God, the living God of all creation, sees tomorrow with the exact clarity that he sees today. He's omnipresent, all-powerful, omnipotent. He's not bound by time. And so catch this, business owners, leaders, entrepreneurs, I'm speaking to you. If that is true, then your Heavenly Father sees the transformed version of you 3 years from today, just as clearly as the worried version of you today. Scripture says our Father knows the plans he has for us, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to bring you hope in a future. Then read Jeremiah 29:11, but then also go read 12 and 13. We need to seek him with our whole hearts. We need to devote our lives to him and dedicate it to the truth of God's word and applying it. Here, listen, there's hope. All of this to say is there is hope. And the hope doesn't come from making another sale. The hope doesn't come from landing that next deal. In fact, I pray for you that our Heavenly Father prevents your business from growing if growth would pull your heart away from him. Catch that. Why would a good God ever want to see your business grow and expand beyond where it's at right now if it would become an idol in your life? God wants our whole heart, not just a couple of rooms, not when it's convenient for you. He wants access into every door of our heart. And it's a matter of stewardship. If God has entrusted you with a business, the sole purpose of you being able to manage that for him is so that his kingdom would receive the full measure of glory, honor, and praise. Newsflash, it's not for your financial gain exclusively. Now, that may be a byproduct. And I do believe that, as Rabbi Daniel Lapin says, that when a client pays you, it's like the money is a thank you note saying, thank you for solving a problem for me. Thank you for helping me. I can get on board with that. But I don't believe, in fact, beyond that, I would ask that the Lord would not advance and grow our company if it would become an idol to me. And I pray the same for you. God wants your whole heart. And if you can get to that place where you truly are fully surrendered and you've given everything to him, even your expectations, even your desires and hopes, and most importantly, even your company. I mean, not most importantly, but like as we're talking to entrepreneurs and business owners here, your company. If you could fully surrender your heart regarding your business to the Lord, then how would you measure success? It cannot be based on outcome. If your motives are fully surrendered at the cross of Christ, obedience is the only measure that you can have for success. And so I pray business owners, leaders, entrepreneurs, that you're taking time in this kind of pivot season to embrace the pause, to sit at the feet of Jesus and to receive, not figure out, but to receive a strategy, receive a next step, receive affirmation of your identity that's unshakable, and to live confidently in obeying that. Now, we're here today to talk to business owners and leaders about how to move their business from brick to click. But if we started exclusively just to talk about an online sales funnel and how to deploy that, it would be like letting the tail wag the dog. You need to know first and foremost that God has a plan for you, for your business, for your leadership, and for your influence. And how you steward that opportunity right now has eternal consequences. Get clear of the purpose and plans that God has in store for you, for your life, for your heart. He's given them to you. He's given you gifts, abilities, talents, passions. Pay attention to that. And then out of that obedience, now we got to go build relationships in the new economy. And now a sales funnel or a digital marketing strategy serves the greater purpose. It doesn't become the idol. So we're living today in a virtual world where many of us have been holed up in our homes. We're picking up groceries barely. I mean, it's, there's definitely some challenges that come along with that. But listen, same purpose that God's had for you. It's just a new plan now. Same purpose, different plan. Same outcome, different plan. God has a plan for you that has not changed. That is the bedrock, cornerstone, written word of God. So there's a few things that we need to think of. So as we're moving and pivoting, business owners, leaders, entrepreneurs, you're bringing your business from a brick and mortar culture where handshakes, networking events, connecting with others, even a storefront for that matter. There's an old saying that says any turkey can fly in a tornado. And if your business was such that it was just physically located in a geographical place or connected where there was just foot traffic, you may not have ever had to really think about marketing ever, because you just were in the right place at the right time to naturally just open doors and people did business with you. That could be a small subset of you guys that are listening to this. But for the rest of us, where you got to kind of figure out, okay, how do we create the wind here? How do we create the tornado? How do we create the market? Let's think about that. And the purpose of this call today is going to be talking about that. So if you've discerned that the Lord has called you into business to serve and advance his kingdom through the marketplace, this call is for you. When I'm teaching on this, sometimes I kind of illustrate think of two fundraising thermometers. On the first thermometer, and I say fundraising, meaning like the 0 to 100, it fills with red as you kind of fill it up. Can you picture that in your mind? The first thermometer, we're going to label risk. The second thermometer, we're going to label relationship. And so if I came to you off the street and you did not know me, and I asked you to say, hey, would you spend $5,000 with me? Hire me as your coach for $5,000, and you've never met me before. Or if I'm a brand new auto mechanic and I've got this mobile auto mechanic shop that I'm creating, like a van that goes around from neighborhood to neighborhood to do service work on your vehicle at your home. But you've never heard of me before, and I tell you it's $500 for your first fix or tune-up. Are you likely to do business with me? Probably not, because why? In the risk thermometer, it's all the way up at the top. You don't know me, it's a big chunk of change, and it's just too much perceived risk. Where are we on the relationship thermometer? We're at the very bottom, 0. But as over time, let's say we meet at an event, or let's say I'm an auto mechanic. I'm literally thinking of this one on the fly. This is like totally unscripted. I mean, all of this has been unscripted. It's just from my heart. But let's say I'm in my neighborhood and I see your van next door. I did not know about your company, but I see printed on the side of your van, it's a mobile auto repair shop. Okay, pretty cool. Never seen it before, but now I've had that first experience. Where are we on the relationship? We just kind of move up maybe a degree. Then that Saturday, I'm out mowing my yard and I ask the neighbor, I say, hey, Joe, I saw you had a mobile auto guy come over. What was that about? Does that work out well? And Joe says, man, these guys were good. They were in and out like lightning quick, and they got our van working again. Boom, boom. Now we're moving up in relationship. I still have never talked to you yet, but your brand is becoming more clear to me, more apparent, more. I'm trusting your brand more because of these safe little probes I'm taking. So I stumble into you at the bottom of the relationship. Now I'm up there and I talk to somebody that gives you a positive Google rating or a Google testimonial or a person testimonial. And then Joe hands me a flyer. And it says, yeah, and by the way, the guy was really, really nice. He gave me these $50 coupons that are $50 off your first service call with them. If you want one, go ahead and take it. Okay. So now some of my pricing risk goes away. My relationship goes up. I pick up the phone and call. Hey, mobile repair shop. Yeah, we got a vehicle out there. I know it needs an oil change. Is it something that simple that you guys would be willing to do? Oh, yeah, it does. It's 100,000 miles. It needs service work. Kind of get where this is going. Well, they explain the process. I go to their website. I check them out. Building relationship, building relationship, building relationship to the point where I'm ready to now call them, book them, have them come out to my house and do the repair. So you need to be thinking about both the wide funnel and the narrow funnel. The wide funnel represents when people don't know anything about you. It's the fuel that goes into the engine. They don't know anything about you. How are they going to become aware? How are you going to catch their attention? You need to have an intentional strategy, an outreach strategy. In the brick and mortar world, it might have been asking for referrals. In the brick and mortar world, it might have been speaking at seminars. In the brick and mortar world, it might have even been a billboard for that matter. Nobody's driving these days. So in the online world, how do we take that principle and migrate it now over to the virtual space, the virtual coliseum that people are going to? And the answer is not just Facebook ads. It's not just Facebook ads. The answer is you need to think from the ground up. What does it look like to capture the attention of our ideal prospect? And I would say, don't just capture it so that you can book the sale. Capture it on a funnel. I'm going to teach you that here on this call. So create the curiosity, draw them in. And then the narrow funnel is, okay, are you clear of the path that you're inviting them down so that ultimately when time comes to invite them to do business with you, they don't have to think about it. They don't have to worry because you've built the relationship. The trust is inherited. Relationship mitigates risk. Relationship mitigates risk. So if you're asking for a top tier risk decision to be made for them to engage you as a counselor, you need to intentionally build the relationship that earns the trust and ultimately invites that opportunity, mitigates the risk, relieves the back pressure of that risk. Okay, so I'm going to teach you on this. Let's say that you wake up today and you are ready to build a sales funnel. There are a couple of areas that I really want you to get crystal clear on. It starts with a clear message. Now check this out. As you're watching this call, I cannot express to you how important it is to have a clear brand message when you're going into the virtual space. And here's why. How many words are on the internet? Zillions of words. Most websites have billions or hundreds or millions of words in it. How many words does Amazon.com have? Millions, if not billions of words in total on the ecosystem of Amazon.com. However, when you go on Amazon.com, you're not just going to go start reading through all these different words and trying to find the ones that make sense. You're going to go in looking specifically for the words that matter to you. If you're looking at Amazon.com for a refrigerator filter, hypothetically, you go to Amazon, you type in Whirlpool refrigerator filter replacement, and does one option pop up? No. hundreds. And so you type in the model number or the part number. And even then, it's more than one option. Let's say there's 5 options that pop up, both Whirlpool and then aftermarket. And they all look like reasonable options. One of them is a 1.0, 1 star, and the other's about a 4.5 star. Which one are you going to go look for? Probably the 4.5 star. You're going to open that product up. But then when you open that product and you click on that description, which review do you go to read first? It's a 4.5 star, not a 5 star. You're going to go look for the 1 star review and find out who wrote this bad review and why was it that bad. What are you doing in that? You're approaching the website with a utility in mind. Catch this. We are trained, our brains almost subconsciously enter into a website today searching, hunting, and trying to find the words that matter to us to make a decision. And so I'll tell you what, your prospect, the same is true for them. You need to be crystal clear about how your brand identity, your message, your business provides a product or service that matters to them. You need to be crystal clear. There's 2 filters I want to equip you with in that. The first is this: make sure that your message appeals to them and their ability to survive or thrive. Think about Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Surviving and thriving is about the basic, food and shelter, right? It's like the basic fundamental everybody needs kind of thing at the base of the pyramid. You need to make sure that you are not trying to tell your story to your prospects, because the reality is your story doesn't matter. Their problem that they're trying to solve through your product or service does matter. I'm not going to Amazon.com looking for a refrigerator filter because I want to hear about the history of Whirlpool. I'm going to Amazon looking for a refrigerator filter because mine has a red light on it and I need to solve that. So pivot your message. Talk in terms, it might be the same coin, all. Catch this. Replacing a refrigerator filter is the coin. One side of that coin is me telling Rob's story about Whirlpool, or like Whirlpool telling their story. The other side of the exact same coin is my refrigerator filter is expired and I need a new one. It's the same coin. At the end game, you want to sell filters. Stop telling your story and start entering their story. Pivot your message. And if you're listening to this call, this podcast, you know what is it that your ideal prospect truly does desire? What do they actually want? And what problems are stopping them from getting that? You need to talk about that story in your marketing, in your social media, on your website, in all different areas. If you can't get crystal clear of what problems you solve, people are not listening. It's so true. People don't do business with the best products and service. They buy from the ones that they understand the clearest. And I'll prove it to you. If I had a box of facial tissues and I ran out and I sent you to the store to buy a box of these, I would tell you to go buy a box of what? Some might say Kleenex. Go buy a box of Kleenex for me. Okay? The reality is I'm holding a box right now and Puffs is the brand name. Or if I said I had these cotton sticks, they had the paper sticks and they had cotton at the end you could use to clean out your belly button or your ears with it, they'd be called what? Some of you are thinking Q-tips. No, they're not. They're cotton swabs. Or if I said I have this stick of petroleum-based product that I take the cap off, and when my lips get kind of rough in the wintertime, I kind of rub it on my lips and it makes it feel better, it'd be called what? Some say chapstick. I was just using Burt's Bees right there. See, what did you do? You recited a brand message, a brand name that defined an entire product category. Those brands, Kleenex, Q-tip, chapstick, were defined so clearly that the average consumer totally reframed the use of that product based on that brand identity. And so from today forward, forever and ever and ever, Puffs will always be compared to Kleenex. Any cotton swab will always be, well, it's sort of like a Q-tip except for Burt's Bees. It's kind of like chapstick, but it's made with forever and ever and ever. Those brands who communicated clearly are the gorilla. They dominate that brand category. The same can be true for your business if you clarify your message. So Survive or Thrive is one. The other is conserve calories. You really want to say it so simply that people remember it. Now, assuming that you've clarified your message, I'm just going to lead you through 5 essential ingredients to a sales funnel. This is the digital sales funnel. If you're going to win in the online click and order world, and I'm not just talking to product businesses here, services absolutely as well, even business to business for that matter. Brick to click means from handshakes to the online world. If you're going to win there, you've got to build relationships. Think those fundraising, those thermometers rather, right? You've got to build relationships that mitigate the risk, and you've got to clarify your message. And if you've got a strategy, here is a strategy to build relationship. Step 1 is to clarify that message, and I would include a one-liner. Now, in StoryBrand, as a StoryBrand certified guide, I build clarified messages. I do the process that I'm teaching you here today. The one-liner is like a portable, off-the-hip message. Some would call it like an elevator pitch. It's like 2, 3, maybe 4 sentences. And it's really, really concise. And it just tells people 3 things. Number 1, it identifies with the problem that a person is facing and feeling. So if you're going to, here's the 3 steps, ingredients to creating your one-liner. Step 1, talk about the problem. What is the problem that your prospect faces? Step 2 is solution. So step 1 was problem, step 2 is solution. So this is your product or service. And then step 3 is the life after. This is the successful outcome if their problem is solved. Problem, solution, life after. 3-part ingredients to your one-liner. And so if we were a financial advisor, I'd probably say, you know, so here's contrast. So somebody gives you a microphone, you're a financial advisor, they say, tell us, what do? You stand up and you say what? I do investments, I'm a financial advisor. That's one option. Apply this one-liner technique, it looks like this. When it comes to thinking about retirement, a lot of people really worry that they'll run out of money before they run out of life. Problem. So we have a unique financial roadmap that we take clients through that builds a clear plan so their money doesn't run out and they could sleep well tonight. Solution, life after. Very different story, very different narrative. If it was a realtor, let's say you were thinking about selling your house and you were searching for a realtor. Step 1, option 1 is, you go searching online, you just look for somebody who looks friendly. Option 2, you encounter this message from your realtor. Hey, when listing your home, we know you want to get top dollar, which can be hard to do in a competitive environment. Problem. So we have this free market analysis that we offer all of our friends and clients, whether or not you do business with us, a free market analysis that tells you exactly what your home's worth and what 3 improvements you can make to your home to dramatically increase your selling price. We're going to provide this to you free of cost so that you can, know that you're going to get top dollar and sell your home fast. I mean, kind of rough off the cuff, but you kind of feel that. It's a very different step-by-step process. So you need a one-liner. Again, the 3 ingredients for your one-liner are problem, solution, and life after. The next element that you need for your sales funnel, after you've clarified your message with a one-liner, is to rethink your website. There are 3 questions that people are asking when they come to your website. First of all, they Googled you. In fact, they probably Googled an issue and you popped up. If you're fortunate enough to have SEO that brings you into somebody's search result, know that they came looking for a solution to a problem in the first place. So there's 3 questions you need to answer on your website, at least, and here they are. The first is, what do you do? Think clarity here. Be so specific of what you do. They want to know exactly what it is that you do. They don't want to have to think about it. Conserve calories here. Say it simply. Say it plainly. What do you do? The second question that they're asking when they come to your website is, how does it make my life better? So if you say, well, we do online counseling, okay, how does it make my life better? So that you can stay at home and get the therapy you need to thrive. Okay, well, that's good. I need to stay at home right now. That makes good sense. And I want to thrive, so I can appeal to that. So what do you do? How does it make my life better? The third question your website needs to answer, and you've got 8 seconds maximum to answer these 3 questions, is, what do I need to do to buy it? So what do you do? How does it make my life better? And the third question, what do I need to do to buy it? This is the Buy Now button. This is the Request a Call button. This is the Schedule Your First Appointment button. That should be a contrast color and very clear on your website. And I'll tell you that as people come to your website, their eye moves in a Z pattern, like the letter Z across your website. Top left corner should absolutely be the logo of your business. Top right corner is the next place that they're going. Let's make that the Buy Now button. This is the cash register. This is where people will actually convert as leads. Put the big, boldly colored button right there with that clear call to action to help them take the next step. Then as your eye moves back down to the lower left-hand corner, this is where that message, the online counseling so that you could stay home and thrive, that's the message right in the middle there. And as you scan back across the bottom, maybe consider this to be, the rest of your message or your value stack. But again, for purposes of today's podcast, it's 3 questions. What do you do? How does it make my life as the viewer? How does it make my life as the prospect better? And then third, what do I need to do to buy it, to actually purchase it? So we've got the one-liner. We've got a new website, a revamped website. The third ingredient of a successful sales funnel is lead generation. Lead generator. So think about like checklists, downloads, video series, things that people could really use to get to know you better and ultimately solve a problem that they have. Not all people that visit your website are going to click the Buy Now button on the first try. Some of them are going to need to get warmed up to you a little bit. So do you have an alternate action that you can invite them into? So for instance, it might look like the Buy Now button up here, but in the meantime, download our free checklist that helps you solve XYZ problem. If it was a financial advisor, schedule an appointment might be the Buy Now button for them. That's their primary call to action. But for lead generators, really consider, what does this look like from like a 3 mistakes people make in their first years of retirement and how to avoid them, or 3 mistakes people make as they near retirement and how you can avoid them. That's like an ebook that they might write. Free download. Here's my question to you. If you saw an ebook that was titled 3 mistakes people typically make as they get close to retirement, who's going to download that? Are kids out of college going to download that? Nope. Who's going to download that for the financial advisor? Probably people who are 55 years and older, who are starting to look at the prospect of retirement on the time horizon for them, and they don't want to screw it up. So when those leads kind of come in through the website and he or she sees, all of this web-based activity of people downloading this ebook, is there some qualification, some filter? We could be reasonably certain that people that are downloading that ebook probably fit the demographic that might have like a IRA rollover or 401k rollover or some decent assets that an advisor would like to manage. These lead generators, think more than just making something that makes you sound smart. Think about truly solving a problem in these for your ideal prospect. And if you do that, the types of people that download this, it's almost like use these lead generators to filter the World Wide Web so that the best audience is the one that's following you around. These are the ones that would download that and become part of your ecosystem. So that's step 3, is to build a lead generator. And then step 4 is a nurture campaign. It's like peanut butter and jelly with the lead generator. With a nurture campaign, somebody downloads that ebook. We should follow them up with a 4, 5, 6-part email sequence, dripped out over 3-4 days, kind of a sequence between each of the emails that ultimately warm them up to your brand and to your business. Kind of a just an intuitive formula to follow with these. The first one should probably be a delivery email, because you want to be not on the spam block list for their inbox. So if you make the delivery of whatever they asked for as a part of that first email, whatever the Google server is or whatever the email server is, they're going to recognize your email address as a legitimate email address, because the person's going to look for it, open it, download it, take a positive action, and not mark it as spam. So you're going to be on a good list for them. So the first email should be a delivery email. But then after that, you can paint a variety of things out, between sharing testimonials of people that have successfully used your product before or service, or maybe there's an e-course that you kind of on-ramp them into, ultimately land them on a sales letter that actually calls them to take action. What this is doing over time, though, is it's creating relationship with them. If you add value, 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 well, when it comes to the end of that value road, they're not going to want to stop. So the next natural progression is for them to engage you in new business. So one-liner, wireframe website, lead generator, an email nurturing campaign is the 4th element. And then the 5th element, and I'm going to open, I've got a friend that might be on the call with us here that would want to ask some questions perhaps. But the 5th element that you need to consider is a direct marketing campaign, an ad campaign. So if you use social media itself is not bad. Google AdWords is not bad. LinkedIn ads are not bad. But don't just go thinking that those are going to be the saving grace for you to just turn on and all of a sudden have a bunch of business. You need to get crystal clear of what your message is, so that when you add the fuel of these marketing tactics, these advertisement tactics into your engine, that the fuel is compatible. So social media can work. One thing I would recommend that you consider is installing retargeting pixels on your website, because this will allow you to retarget ads and reposition ads in front of somebody who's come to your website. So let's say you run a $500 or $1,000 ad campaign for a demographic audience outreach. And by that, I'm hoping that you're keeping up with me here. But basically, you kind of choose who you want to see ads in front of, and you've got your clear message. So now you put that clear message in front of those people, and they follow you back to download your lead generator from your website. Your website should have retargeting pixel installed in the header code, so that Facebook, LinkedIn, Google can see who comes into your website. You won't be able to see their identity unless they give you their first name and email address. But these social media platforms can tag them and sell you the right to reposition advertisements to them over time. So have you ever gone to a website searching for drill bits for your drill, and then you see drill bits showing up in website banners and in your news feed and other areas? It's like this advertisement that just follows you around. We've all seen it. That's essentially what's happening, is retargeting. What's beautiful about retargeting is that our experience has been it's a fraction of the cost, because Facebook and LinkedIn assume that you kind of own some of the rights to the use of that audience. They won't tell you exactly who the people are, but they will allow you to pay them to reposition ads in front of them again. So you should think about 2 layers of advertisement. One would be the new target audience layer, which is outbound outreach, brand new people. Those are the most expensive ads. But then in the back burner, you should always be cooking in the background this retargeting campaign as well, that's kind of repositioning new and a variety of ads to people who have already come into your site but not taken action. So the sales and marketing campaign, this advertisement campaign, can be powerful fuel that you add into the engine. So again, in closing here, kind of the 5 ingredients of a sales funnel. Number 1 is your clarified message, and really a one-liner. You need to have a one-liner. Number 2 is a revamped website. And those answers those 3 questions. What do you do? How does it make my life better? What do I need to do to buy it? That's the fundamental grunt test that your website has to pass. The third is lead generator. So do you have digital resources that you're offering for free that people could gain access to ultimately get to know you and trust your brand? The fourth is a nurturing campaign, which is like an email campaign that stems from that that lead generator download. And then the fifth is an all-encompassing ad campaign, which might be outreach. Now, what's really interesting, our business, Hughes Integrated, just this week, I mean, our team has been working tirelessly on this, but on our website this week, we just launched an online, I'll call it a website stress test, where you could just take an online quiz. We don't even ask for your first name and email address for this. It's free and it's open for you. You don't even have to add your name to it at all. So we don't need to know who you are or what your website is. You go through these quiz questions on your own. But if you go to hughesintegrated.com and you look for this, it's like the website audit, the free website audit. It'll guide you through step by step yourself, and you could stress test your website with these ingredients to see if you really meet the requirements of an effective website in the online world. It's a really, really cool resource. We're excited, and we're also producing kind of a video series course that trains how to do each of these elements really, really well, and we're going to give that away for free. At the end of the day, our mission is to lift up the banner of Christ, to lift up the name of Christ by helping small businesses accelerate growth. And right now, the biggest pinch point is people are fumbling moving from brick to click. And we just can't stand and let that happen. So we're providing these online resources, this podcast and other resources and tools to help you not only survive, but ultimately thrive in the modern economy. So again, one-liner, wireframe your website, get some lead generators and partner those with an email sequence. You might use like MailChimp as an easy free, there's a free version, a paid version of that. As a CRM to kind of manage some of that. Aweber is another one. Infusionsoft. I was just talking to a state college here that reached out to our agency this week, and they're running things on Salesforce. That's another one too. If you use Salesforce, I think you have to use the plugin of Pardot to really maximize the use of that tool. So any CRM can work, but what I'm trying to express is that it's an automated funnel that you're creating that works 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. What was really interesting is yesterday I had a conversation with a prospect who I had never met before. He might even be listening to this call right here. So if he is, he'll know exactly what I'm talking about. I had never met him before. And ultimately he requested a conversation. He downloaded our 3 video series and requested a conversation. And some of the stuff for one of our businesses, we recorded like 4 years ago, some of these original videos, maybe even longer than that. And he's quoting things literally out of this video sales funnel that we had built several years back. And he starts the call by saying, hey, I already went on Amazon and purchased those books. I'm thinking, what books is he talking about? It's the books that we recommended in this video that we recorded years ago. And at the end of the day, he's actually very interested and is likely going to engage us. Now, how much of that did I have to do with my own, how much of that conversation did I carry, that relationship did I have to carry on my own back? Very, very little. In fact, I pretty much met him after the relationship thermometer had already grown to about here. He just wanted to validate what he had seen through our website and through the lead generators, and he's just ready to engage our coaching business and wants to, come on in and be part of the membership there. Because an online relationship development strategy existed. It's a pretty cool place to be, to not be selling, but rather just be serving. Wouldn't you rather just be serving qualified inbound requests for your business? The truth of the matter is, it's possible today. This is knee deep in the midst of COVID-19. For our live in-person coaching business, we had a real inbound request, and it was actually international. This friend actually came, I can't make this stuff up. It's true. He came out of Canada. So an international request to once every 90 days fly to meet with us in person for coaching that came through an online sales funnel. It's true, and it happens, and it can work for you as well. So hey, with that, I'm gonna I'm going to assume, so I've got two friends, I see at least two friends that are on the call that would like to potentially ask questions, and I'm just going to open up the floor to see if that is true. Hey, Nicole. Okay, welcome.
I have a question. So do you think it's best to, what's kind of best practice? Do you think it's best to have kind of a landing page for this email sign up lead generator? Do you think a pop-up is best? Multiple places? What's kind of the best first step for kind of getting that lead generator on the website?
Yep. So we talked about the eye moving in a Z pattern. First of all, great question, right? So eye moves in a Z pattern across the website from top left, which should be your logo. Top right should be your primary call to action. In your teletherapy, telehealth, right? So anybody who needs counseling through Zoom or other platform, you offer that as well as in person, but you also pivoted your practice to offer telehealth. Is that true? Okay. And by the way, if you're listening to the podcast, Nicole is awesome. Nicole, real quick, what's your website or a plug that we could offer, email or something?
Yeah, so business is Restorative Counseling Center, and website is restorativecc.com.
Restorativecc.com, Restorative Counseling Center. Check them out. Can't speak highly enough about Nicole. So the top right-hand corner is where your primary call to action, like request a meeting would be, or whatever the version of that is for you. You might consider right next door to that in the same top right, not as a button, not colored the same way, maybe an inverse. So if your brand palette is like blue and pastels, maybe invert it to a yellow button for this. So whatever a complementary color for this button could be, or just a straight link is fine as well, but have it ride in conjunction right next door to your primary call of action. So Nicole's question is, where does the lead generator go? You might link it if you're going to do it. Now, I would link to a jump link. In an HTML words, for those of you who don't understand or haven't yet used a jump link in HTML code, it simply is a hashtag that links to an anchor at the bottom of the same landing page so that they don't have to go externally or to a different pinch page. In many cases, that's sufficient. Don't overthink this. If it is an ebook or a download, you might consider using an online 3D cover generator, like a book cover generator, that makes it look like a 3D rendering, or it makes it look like an iPad displaying what you have. Those are nice ways to kind of like spice it up a little bit, make it look a little bit more appealing to somebody, like make it look substantial. But I would just use a simple jump link. And I wouldn't be overt about repeating the transitional call to action a bunch of times. I'd probably leave it in like that floating menu bar. And then if it's nested in a jump link, they're going to encounter it again a second time down at the bottom of the website. I would leave it to the bottom of the site, though. I would not try to force people in the first panel to have to jump only into that. Now, pop-ups are an interesting question. Pop-ups, if you actually look at the data, pop-ups work. They're annoying as heck, but they work. And I've, one kind of pro tip with pop-ups, if you decide to use a pop-up that's really a brand decision for you, but if you're comfortable using them, consider changing the X button to say, no, I don't want to receive this free offer right now, X. See if you can add some words near that. Sometimes you'll see these on websites where they say, would you like to save 50% on your next order? If so, join this list. And instead of a no button, it says, no, I like spending lots of extra money. It just catches people off guard. It's a psychological pause. Now, again, this does not work for every business, but it's an interesting tactic because it does kind of catch people off guard, catches their attention, and they have to rethink it before just automatically and arbitrarily just clicking out of the pop-up. So pop-up can work. If you're going to use a pop-up, the pop-ups that we use are usually behavior-based, not necessarily instant. So see if the pop-up software that you're running will allow you to trigger at 50% scroll through your website. So as somebody gets 50% of the way through, then the pop-up happens.
Right.
The reason is because you don't want to just force feed a pop-up to somebody, but I want my pop-ups to show up when people indicate an interest in our stuff. And so one metric that we can use is that they scrolled at least halfway through.
Yeah.
Really good, really good question, though. Anything else? Any other questions for you before we move on? Mark, you're next.
Super helpful. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Hey, Mark, any questions from you, my friend?
Hey, Rob, how are you?
Good. Nice to have you back.
Yeah, sorry I was late to the game. I don't really know you guys were all talking about because I was right in the middle of trying to get on our website. You were talking about the Z where it goes from left to right, right? And I've
Yeah,
heard
you
that
got it.
many times, but in my mind too, when I was talking to getting the website updated for this COVID-19 instructions to our customers, I wanted them to be captured immediately. I didn't care anything else about my brand, anything else about our product. I wanted to read this first. And my first thought was color. What about colors on website drawing towards, colors versus Z? What's the difference there?
Yeah, really good question. So Mark's question is color. I think of color psychology both for the brand and then also for the website. So in terms of what we've covered today, that call of action button, the primary call to action, whatever the buy now button is on your website, I would like to encourage you, make sure that that is a startling contrast color that draws my eye to it every time I see it. So if your brand palette is blue and silver, I want that button to be yellow or gold or yellow or orange. Do you follow me? So on the color wheel, if you just Google color wheel, you'll see that yellow is the opposite of blue. It's like color psychology, right? Color wheel science, art.
Mm-hmm.
So you want the contrast color to be your button, primarily because you want people to see the cash register. You don't want them walking right past it.
Right.
And that button is your cash register. Now that aside, let's talk a little bit about color psychology and how to choose a brand palette for your brand. In short, I don't have time to teach on this. Maybe we'll do a future podcast on it. But in short, think about the type of brand that you have, type of clients that you serve, the image you want to display. If you looked at a color wheel, Toyota, Honda, I'm talking your language, Mark, Nissan, are all in that red space. Follow me, watch this. Lexus, Acura, Infiniti are all in the silvers and blues. Mercedes, GMC, red, Cadillac, silver and gold. Okay, so pay attention. Blues and kind of the silver, kind of metallics, tend to communicate peace and like just luxury. Purple, luxury. Red, specifically, is mass appeal, sale, 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 discount, discount, discount. A red tag sale at a clothing store, you know it's going to be deep discounts, right?
Right.
Clearance section, red, 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 red and yellow. So it doesn't make red bad. I'm not telling you red's bad, but what I am saying is color psychology would say, what are we trying to communicate? Fast, quick, motivate. Now, like agriculture, if you're in like lawn maintenance or landscaping, clearly green is a good palette for that, right? Financial advisor, what do you want to communicate? Active portfolio growth? Well, that might be a little bit more of like the warm colors to get you there. But if it's more like, hey, we got peace of mind, then you probably want to lean into like blues and greens. Yep. So
Yeah.
overarching color psychology, you could even Google that color wheel or brand color identity wheel, that type of thing. You'll see sometimes I've even come across Google images of well-known brands that kind of all fit that spectrum based on the color that they are. It's very interesting. So it's about who are you trying to reach? What's your audience? Another kind of pro tip in this is, well, when to use humor. This is not your color question. It's just another thing that's on Rob's mind. When to use humor. When should we use jokes? Sometimes when people are writing copy and emails, they're wondering, well, should I make it sound like I'm talking to the person and use jokes for it? So here's kind of a rule of thumb. Comedy is for the masses. Drama is for the elite. Comedy is for the masses. If your brand is such where you're selling products that really is accessible for anybody and everybody, you probably should be less polished and more human there. But if you're really trying to have those high dollar transactions and you're really trying to reach kind of the elite of the market, just take a look at some of the car commercials, like built Ford tough. That's very different than some of the stuff I see with Matthew McConaughey and Lincoln. Right? So it's like, okay, built Ford tough is very different for the masses. But the whole Lincoln experience is a different echelon for Ford. It's a different brand identity for them. It's more drama associated with it. So consider that with your brand as well. Who are you trying to? These are good questions, guys. We're going to conclude with this. If you confuse, you lose. Noise is the enemy. I mean, to just quote some cliches here that you may have heard, or some kind of one-liners themselves that you've heard, it is absolutely true. It doesn't have to be that way, though. Clarify your message. Bring that into an online environment where you can build relationships. We're not here to sell anything. Don't be there to sell nobody wants to be sold to. They love to buy. People hate to be sold. They love to buy. So build relationships and make it safe for them to transition over into your online business to do business with you. People hate to be sold, but they love to buy. And ultimately, if your business is relevant, if you've positioned it in such a way where you're helping them see what do you do, how it actually makes their life better, and you've given them the clear next step for what they need to do to buy it, I'm hopeful that that'll increase your conversions. And ultimately, that is boost of revenue. See, in business, it's a stewardship mindset. Your family is counting on you to do well in the marketplace. If you have team members and employees, it's your job as the business leader, the lead sales engineer, to create these pivots and create these changes from brick to click. You need to lead the charge. It's an opportunity for you to, first and foremost, discern what are the unique gifts that God has entrusted to you. What's the unique season that God has called you to serve and steward right now, this COVID-19? And what are some ideas that the Lord might inspire and help you to deploy that helps to keep your business relevant into this new economy? You taking the time to really wrestle those questions to the ground not only serves the business well, but those who are impacted by the business, your staff, your team, your clients, the families, the local economies that they all represent. So I pray that you would apply these principles, do them well, and grow. So again, you're listening to the Thrive Collective. This is a podcast designed for you, entrepreneurs, business leaders, owners, and friends. This podcast is designed to bring tools, principles, and ideas to help you make more money, avoid costly mistakes, but most importantly, fully integrate your faith into your life and leadership. I'm Rob Hughes, your host, and it's been an honor to be with you today. We'll see you next time.